This is Parallel and Perpendicular Lines with Mrs. Herrera. This is from your homework worksheet 2.4, Parallel and Perpendicular Lines. Let's start with problem number 1. Problem 1 says, write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is A, parallel to, and B, perpendicular to the line given. So we need to actually do two parts of this problem. We're going to write an equation for a parallel line and an equation for a perpendicular line. So let's go ahead and start with the parallel line. So this is our equation. We have y equals negative 3x plus 2, and we need our parallel and perpendicular lines to go through the point 3, negative 2. So starting with the parallel line, remember that parallel lines have the same slope. So if we're going to use this line, we want to be parallel to this line, then our slope also has to be negative 3. So I'm going to remind myself that m equals negative 3. So let's rewrite this new thing. We want y equals mx plus b form. And I'm going to use this point as my x and y, one of the points that will go through this line. So let's fill in the information I have. I know my slope is negative 3. I know my y is negative 2. So negative 2 equals negative 3 times my x, which is 3. But I don't know the y-intercept of this parallel line. So let's solve for b in the parallel line. Well, this side of the equation stays the same, negative 2, but I have negative 3 times 3, that's negative 9, plus b. In order to solve for b, I will add 9 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 9 is a positive 7. And I find that my b is a positive 7. So for this parallel line, my slope is negative 3, and my b is a positive 7. And now I can rewrite that as y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to have y equals negative 3x plus 7. And this is the parallel line going through point 3, negative 2 to the line y equals negative 3x plus 2. So part A is finished. That was part A. Part B would be our perpendicular line. Okay, so thinking about perpendicular lines and their slopes, I know that the slope of a perpendicular line is the opposite reciprocal of the line that is perpendicular to. So the slope of this line is negative 3, and the slope of our perpendicular line will be the opposite. So I'll go from negative to positive, and the reciprocal of 3, or negative 3, is 1/3. So this is opposite because it's now positive, and the reciprocal, 1/3. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I have y equals mx plus b. I have a point which it will go through, 3, negative 2. So I can fill that in for my y and x. Negative 2 for my y. In this case, 3 for my 1/3 for my slope, and 3 for my x. And I need to figure out what my b would be. So let's solve for b. Here I have negative 2 equals 1/3 times 3, that's 1, plus b. So I can now solve for b by subtracting 1 from both sides. And here I'm going to get negative 3 equals b. So to rewrite my equation now, I'm going to have my slope, opposite reciprocal, which is 1/3 x, plus what I found my y-intercept to be, negative 3. So write this out, y equals. Okay, so now I can write my equation. Y equals, my slope is positive 1/3, it's the opposite reciprocal, x, and then I found my y-intercept to be negative 3, so plus a negative 3 or right minus 3. And here is the equation to my perpendicular line that goes to the point 3, negative 2. Okay, so the second problem I'll do is problem number 3. And notice that I put a graph here, and that's kind of to show you something. Number 3 is a little bit different. I'm going through the point negative 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1, and my line is the line x equals 0. So this is not in the traditional y equals mx plus b form that I'm used to seeing. This is an x equals 0. I know that x equals are always vertical lines. So this is a parallel So this is a parallel and perpendicular line to the line x equals 0. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and graph line x equals 0. So there it is. The blue line is the line x equals 0. So let's go ahead and label that real quick. Now this is a vertical line going through 0 or the origin. It's the same as the y-axis. So the y-axis could also be written as the line x equals 0. So to get something parallel, I'm going to get another x equals. Well, it has to go through the point negative 1, negative 1, which is right here. So I'm going to have just another vertical line through that point. That line will look a little bit like this. The red line. The red line is the line x equals negative 1 because it goes through the value x equals negative 1 at all points. So our parallel line here is another x equals, and we're just choosing the x portion of our point, negative 1. Our perpendicular line is very similar. So our perpendicular line is going to go through the same point, but now instead of being vertical, it will be horizontal. So our purple line there is the line y equals negative 1. Because it is the horizontal line going through negative 1, negative 1. So horizontal lines are always y equals, and y equals negative 1. So notice I didn't really need the graph here in order to write these two equations, but it's kind of nice to see that. But our parallel lines will always be, if it is a x equals and it is a vertical line, it will be another vertical line going through this same point, the x. Our perpendicular line will be a horizontal line opposite what our given is, and so it'll be the y equals negative 1, getting from our point there. As always, if you have questions, see me or Mr. Daniels, and have a fabulous day.